So I'm just going to say good morning, One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. And I have a song from Jan Garrett and JD Martin that I'd like to kick us off with here. I'm just going to just do the music because it's not a video, so I'll go to advanced. I think it's a great song to start us out with. Can y'all hear it?
Seeing the world through the eyes of a higher vision, freely feeling the love that's breathing us all, openly singing the song that holds us together, and willingly lending a hand to tear down the walls, calling our better angels together, calling our better angels as we go. Better angels, better angels, better angels, calling on our better angels. Who brings the breeze at dawn to the mountain meadows? And how do the wild grasses know how to grow? The essential invisible heart of all creation, living inside of us now and singing us home, calling our better angels together, calling our better angels as we go. Better angels, better angels, better angels, calling on our better angels, the better angels of our nature, the companions of our soul, the ones we can count on to guide us wherever we go. Though the dangers may be daunting, we know that we're not alone. We're lifted up, taking the high road home. Better angels, better angels, better angels, calling on our better angels, better angels, better angels, better angels, calling on our better angels.
Our better angels. They're always there. Oh, so I would like to invite Rob McGregor, our practitioner of the day. to kick us off here, Rob.
All righty then. This morning at 8 o'clock, Michelle caught me trying to remember how to share my screen. And I think I got it figured out anyway. Let's see how this works. There we go. Today we're talking about living in the flow. And that's according to CSL, and I'm pretty certain Michelle will be speaking on the same topic. I've got no idea what she's going to say about it, but it doesn't matter because she'll be good. So what's it like living in the flow? Well, from my perspective, the flow is the physical universe game. So the physical universe is, in fact, a game. You are God playing a game. So how do you play the physical universe game? Well, for one thing, you must comply with a list of limitations. All games have limitations you must agree to, and the physical universe game is no exception. For one thing, you got to breathe. If you don't breathe, you get kicked out of the game. Also, you got to eat. If you don't eat, you get kicked out of the game. And here's how you play the game. Well, you're born, plop, and it didn't take long for you to realize the objective of the game. Okay, what's the objective of the game? Your objective is to have a fun, fulfilling game, life. If you check your earliest memories, you will find that you were trying to figure out how to have fun and how to feel fulfilled. And how about the game board? Well, as the name of the game implies, the game board is the physical universe. It is here so that you can play. The physical universe, the whole enchilada, is here for you. And the physical universe is not a stagnant thing. It is the result of the flow of life, the very flow in which you find yourself living your life. And what about the mechanism that generates the physical universe and the flow of life in which you find yourself? Well, that mechanism is explained by this diagram as depicted by our founder, Ernest Holmes. This diagram is the reason I fell in love with the science of mind. It explains me and it explains you. It explains the entire universe in incredibly elegant simplicity. I'm not going to get into the way it works here, but it also explains how the events of your life are generated by the thoughts that you have. These events are the flow in which you find yourself. And if you've heard me speak before, you've probably heard me say that these events fall into two categories. There's good stuff and bad stuff, right? What is bad stuff? It's like bee stings and flat tires and toothaches. And so you get a toothache, and if that's not bad enough, the dentist tells you you need a root canal, and that seems like double jeopardy. And then to add insult to injury, you get a big bill from the dentist in the mail. But now I hear you say, wait a minute, didn't you say I am God playing a game? Well, if George H.W. Bush could declare that he was president and therefore he didn't have to eat broccoli, why is it if I'm God, I have to put up with bad stuff? Okay, allow me to explain it to you. I want to introduce you to this lady. This is Elizabeth Magie, who in 1903 invented a game that you've probably heard of. Now, it was Lizzie's intention to create a game that was fun. The more fun the game, the more she would sell and the more she stood to gain by creating it. For that end, there was plenty of good stuff that could happen to you as you played the game. But here's the kicker. She didn't have to include bad stuff in here, in her game. She did include the bad stuff. Now, why would she include bad stuff in a game designed to maximize fun? Because like the physical universe game, including the bad stuff makes it a better game. Now, I'm going to get rid of that. There's one disclaimer here. In one respect, Monopoly is not analogous to the physical universe game in that Monopoly is competitive and the physical universe game is not. If the person next to you does well, it takes nothing from you. In fact, it should be an encouragement to show you what is possible, and we always applaud the consciousness of those who live well. Finally, I want to reiterate that although I believe you can't eliminate all the bad stuff from your experience, you can absolutely improve the good stuff to bad stuff ratio in your life. This is another way of saying that you can reduce your drama level with the tools that we teach. We all know people who go from one category 5 crisis to the next. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with living like that. If you honestly crave the excitement, it is definitely not boring. Personally, I prefer a little more tranquility. And on that note, I invite you to go within, to feel the goodness in which we live, to feel the godness that is all around us, in which we dwell. I invite you to feel all the peace and all the tranquility you want to feel. And to, from this vantage point, to be thankful with me for the goodness that is about to transpire today, for the goodness of this group, this meeting coming together, this willingness to grow, this willingness to experience more of life, to find new tricks and new ways to go about living a better life. I am so grateful for this opportunity. I am grateful for this meeting to this morning. I am grateful for all the potential that is before us, where there is nothing but good and nothing but better and yet better still. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for what we have and what is here for us. I am so grateful. I say thank you, thank you, thank you. And together we say, and so it is. And with any luck, Michelle is going to give me something to read here. Today, December's affirmation, if you wish to join me: goodness and beauty follow me. Peace and joy accompany me. Happiness and wholeness fill my entire being with the realization of love and perfection. And that is from Ernest Holmes. And with that, I'm signing off.
That was fabulous. I loved that. Thank you so much. I love looking at that from that perspective of a game. That was great. You always come up with really interesting stuff, and I love that so much. Thank you for that. So I have this song, and I was really debating whether or not I wanted to share it, but it popped in my head during the week. It's about forgiveness, but I think it sets us up for what we're talking about today. It's by two people that you may or may not have heard of, called Tuck and Patty. Anybody heard of Tuck and Patty? And it's a husband and wife that he plays the guitar and she sings, and it's kind of a jazzy thing. But she starts out by saying, "I met a man named Carlos," and it was Carlos Santana. I saw them in concert together, and she explained the story. And she met Carlos Santana, and he had a Bible under his arm. Speaking of which, Nan, we were talking about this earlier. And she wrote this song about it, and it's really lovely, and I think you'll like it. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna get it going here for you. It's just a video, so I'm not going to hang on a minute. I'm making my way through here, so I'm not going to share anything, but in no video, it's just an audio. Sorry, trying to multitask. Okay, here we go, and here we go. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
Met a man named Carlos. He told me that I'm an angry man. All this madness and injustice makes me rage. So I keep this book of angels right here underneath my arm. I draw the light to me any way that I can. Don't be afraid. Love is waiting for you at the end you choose. You will find that in time it will bring peace of mind, with love surrounding you, oh, and forgiveness to see you through. I looked my hatred in the face, you know it tried to stare me down and send me running right back into that old darkness. But my heart held a torch of love that helped me make it through the pain and sorrow and led me straight back to my calling. Don't be afraid, love is waiting for you at the end of almost any road that you choose. You will find that in time it will bring peace of mind, with love surrounding you, oh yes, and forgiveness to see you through. Where do you go from here? Oh, how will you stand if you don't open up your heart to forgiveness? You could run and you could cry, or you could open up your heart and live again. You know you could die to the past, be born to the now. Do you hear your freedom calling? Don't be afraid, no. Love is waiting, waiting for you at the end of almost any road that you choose. You will find that in time it will bring peace of mind. Oh, all around you, love is all around you. Yes, and forgiveness will see you through. I'm talking about forgiveness. Sweet forgiveness. Yeah, you will find that in time it will bring peace of mind. Oh, with love surrounding you, and forgiveness to see you on through. I know that forgiveness will see you on through.
That is probably not the traditional thing that we usually listen to, but for some reason it just felt right as we begin to talk about a journey. And I love her message that forgiveness. I love the line, you die to the past, be born to the now. Can you hear your freedom calling? Don't be afraid. I love that. So anyway, good morning again. I get to say good morning several times. Good morning again. And welcome to One Heart, One Mind. And, you know, I do always want to make a shout out to our people that are listening online or on replay, you know, and however you connect with us, I'm just glad you're here. Really glad. So this week we're continuing our focus on living our wholeness and the opportunity that we have to practice and to express our wholeness through the celebration of the winter holidays. And I kind of started talking about the winter holidays during Thanksgiving. And last week, of course, we talked about Hanukkah. And we talked about living in miracle mindedness through the celebration of Hanukkah. And we're still right in the middle of Hanukkah, which it goes until December 15th. I've been lighting the menorah with my little grandchildren who their dad is Jewish and they light the menorah every night. So if you've done that, you started on Thursday. And it's really gotten me to think about how in my own life, how am I and how can I be more like the shamash, which is the helper candle in the middle of the menorah that lights all the other candles? Because as metaphysicians, we know that where we put our attention highlights and expands that part of our life. So I've been noticing how I act as the shamash and how others act as the shamash, consciously witnessing, if you will, and being grateful for the way that we all support each other, honoring the way in which I see others supporting each other, genuinely being kind and generous. And you know what? It's more often than not, I have to say, when you look for the good, boy, do you find it. And it is all around us. So as I was investigating all the different kinds of holidays that happen in December, I ran across a rather obscure one called Las Posadas. It's celebrated widely in Mexico and Central America, and it's just kind of gaining some popularity in the United States, mostly in Texas and California. And I remembered my sister mentioning it a couple of years ago, which piqued my interest because her husband's family is from Mexico. Las Posadas literally means the inns or the lodging, and it commemorates the journey of Mary and Joseph from Nazareth to Bethlehem to be counted in the census. We all know the story. And of course, it's where Mary gave birth to Jesus in a stable because there was no room in the inn. Hence the name Las Posadas. And I thought, a journey story has so many wonderful metaphors that can kind of come alive for us in our individual lives. So I kind of dove into it a little bit deeper than, I would have before. And it does have some wonderful gifts for us, especially because Las Posadas isn't this somber tribute to the struggles of Mary and Joseph's journey. It's a celebration, and a celebration of the experience that they had on their journey and how they met everything with a sense of trust and faith in God. They embraced the journey with a knowing that their needs would be provided for. And that's why I entitled today's talk, Living in the Flow. They were living in the flow of the divine good, which opens us up to express our wholeness in spirit in God. So Las Posadas, Las Posadas is celebrated. I had no idea how it was celebrated, but it's celebrated the 9 days that lead up to Christmas. Each night represents a month of Mary's pregnancy, which is odd, but I get it. The gestation period for our divinity to be expressed through our humanity. It's really some rich symbolism when you think about it. And it's really about how our thoughts and our feelings through our spiritual practice nurture and bring forward that good, standing in the flow. So the intention of the holiday, as I said, is not a somber reenactment of Mary and Joseph's journey. It is such a celebration. It's like this community affair. And each night, a different family or host household has a dinner. And people travel through the streets, through the community, going door to door. Children dress up as angels, and others dress up as shepherds and innkeepers, and even as Mary and Joseph. And they knock on several doors, and each time they're turned away, because there's no room in the inn. And then finally, everyone arrives at the host house and they knock on the door and they're invited in, and the celebration begins, and there's food and music and even a piñata. It sounds like a lot of fun. And for us, again, it's an example of how to live in the flow of a spirit's continuous good, even when challenges appear, even when there doesn't seem to be any room at the end. And, I have to say that I have always heard the story of Mary and Joseph's journey to Bethlehem as a story of hardship. They didn't want to travel to Bethlehem, but they had to because they had to participate in the census. And poor Mary had to ride on the donkey, even though she was about to give birth. Honestly, that part really does not sound too much fun. But the point is, I've been pregnant. You do not want to be riding on a donkey. Anyway, I've always heard this story kind of couched as a story of woe, with a hint of victimhood in there. And the celebration of Las Posadas turns that completely around. It brings people together in community in a celebration of what's to come, that living in expectancy vibe. And, because Mary is about to bring into the world a new light of good. It's a celebration of transformation and promise. And they do find a place to stay, even though they were told that there's no room in the inn. So Las Posadas brings to mind one of the main spiritual principles that we practice in the science of mind and that is that what we put our attention on is what we get more of. It's just like what Rob was talking about, from the mind down through law into physical reality. It's that chart that I love too, by the way. But that doesn't mean that everything we experience in our lives is going to be really comfortable. I remember Mary was riding on that donkey. That's just not the reality of our human experience. But what we see in our daily lives through the lens of our perception has everything to do with what we believe about it. That's how we experience it. And our expectancy of good, no matter what the situation is, our faith in life paves the way for more and more good to be expressed. It's funny because things always happen when I'm preparing a talk and stuff will come up that I think, oh, wow, that's really in the same vein of what I'm talking about. So the other day, I was telling the story of the car accident that I had in 2018. And most of you have heard the story probably more than once, probably more than you want to hear it. But the essence of the story is that I got hit head on by another vehicle. I was stopped in the left turn lane and my vehicle was totaled. The airbags went off. And at the time, it was really pretty darn scary, but I was okay. And, I ended up with just a scratch on my arm and my leg. And also right in the middle of it, I had this kind of mystical experience where I was reassured by a heavenly voice, if you will, that everything really was going to be okay. And as I was retelling the story the other day, I found myself saying how incredibly grateful I was for the experience and how blessed I was by the whole thing. Kind of took me by surprise when it came out of my mouth. I realized I wasn't telling a story of woe. I was telling a story of gratitude and opportunity. And that certainly seems to be the way in which the story of Mary and Joseph's journey is told through the celebration of Las Posadas. Las Posadas says that, look at the gift that was given to the world through the challenges that Mary and Joseph experienced. And how can we see life and all of its challenges and its joys as a continuous expression of Spirit's givingness, no matter what the details of the story are, no matter what the circumstances are. I just feel like we've been given this extraordinary privilege of incarnating as human beings. In the Tao Te Ching, the Taoist text, it says that life is filled with 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. And isn't that true? We have the blessing of seeing these brilliant colors of a sunrise or a sunset. We have the pleasure to taste good food in our mouth and to hear beautiful music and to hear the sound of laughter. There's just so many moments of awe and joy. So, we can either get lost in the small, narrow state of consciousness that is always focusing on the challenges, all the things that we encounter, kind of in a constant state of worry and fear, or we can be in the consciousness of love and appreciation and live in that sense of trust and flow with life. Life is constantly recreating itself and is constantly presenting us with these new opportunities. Just as Mary was symbolically gestating the light of the world within her, so are we. We are nurturing and cultivating that light within us. And as we live in the expectancy of this good, when we live in miracle mindedness, we're gestating the expression of God's good in our lives. And we know that we live in a universe of love and law. We can turn our attention to the good that's already available to us in our oneness with God. We talk about this all the time, how everything we need is already within us. We did that in the meditation today. I invited us to go within and connect with what's already there, with the end of the journey that we want to be. How do we want to feel? And we know that we're empowered to participate with creative love. We can do it consciously. We're doing it all the time. And we can bring that good into our lives. We can birth the light of God, the wholeness of God in our human lives. And I was really thinking about this, and it's funny that Rob talked about being in the physical world as well, because we live in a physical world. And we tend to see our human journey as this linear experience. We start here, we get here. As far as our human experiences go, that's kind of true. We start as children, we get older, but we are not only human. That is an experience we're having. We are infinite beings. We are the nature of God. We don't just share it, we are it. And our God self is not limited to the physical world. And infinity, our infinite nature, isn't linear. So it's through our human experience that we have the opportunity to express this infinite nature of Spirit's good. It seems almost counterintuitive. How do I express something infinite in the finite? And I think that the metaphysical interpretation of the birth of Jesus is appropriate here. So Joseph is said to be the symbol of wisdom and order and intellect in our humanness. And Mary is said to be the symbol of the heart of love, the deep, intuitive expression of universal love in its infinite nature. So the journey of Mary and Joseph to Bethlehem gets to be the culmination of the coming together of wisdom, of human intellect and order, logic, and in our humanity, and the infinite universal love of heart. So head and heart coming together in our human experience. And from this perspective, celebration seems incredibly appropriate. The joy and the levity of Las Posadas is an expression of this pairing, and it makes the journey of Mary and Joseph a journey of joyous transformation and an expansion of consciousness, one that isn't linear, but infinite in every direction, just like we are. So the story of Mary and Joseph can be seen as setting out into the physical world while standing firmly in the infinite world, in an expectation of good, in an attitude of gratitude and joy and celebration. I love that Las Posadas is such a celebration. I ran across this funny story and I wanted to share it. I actually think I may have shared it with you before, but I don't remember. So my stories seem to kind of run into each other. But it's a story about Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. And they went on a camping trip, and they set up their camp, they built a fire and they put up their tent. And at about 3 a.m, Holmes wakes up Watson and he says, Watson, look up and tell me what you see. So Watson looks up. I'm going to look for it because I don't want to get the details wrong. Hang on a minute. I've got it printed here. Here it is. So he says, tell me what you see. And Watson looks up and he says, I see millions of stars. And Holmes says, okay, what does that tell you? And Watson replies, well, astronomically, it tells me that there's millions of galaxies and billions of planets. And time-wise, it appears to be about 3:15. Theologically, it's evident that God is all-powerful. And as human beings, we're relatively small and insignificant. And meteorologically, it appears tomorrow will be a clear and beautiful day. Why? What does it tell you, Holmes? And Holmes replies, Watson, you idiot, someone has stolen our tent. So how is this relevant to today's topic? I started thinking about it and I thought, we all have patterns of what we pay attention to, so, like Watson was seeing it from the larger picture. He was seeing all this theology and all the science in the stars. And Watson, he was seeing it like very distinctively. Here's what's in front of us. It's why he was a good problem solver. And we've developed these distinct patterns of where our attention goes. Some people are always looking for what's missing in their life, ignoring what they already have. Others are always trying to avoid or protect themselves from what they think they're afraid of. And then still others live in this expectancy of good and gratitude for what's right in front of them. And maybe, I know this is true about me, we're all a little bit of all of these, but our habit of where we put our attention creates our lives. Where we put our attention defines how we experience our daily lives. Where we put our attention creates how we experience this moment and the next moment and the next moment and the next. And our patterns of thinking and feeling and where we put our attention tend to be repetitive. And that's why we do our spiritual practice, to practice, to ensure that where we put our attention is actually on what we want to experience. Our spiritual practice helps us from being kind of hypnotized by the world around us and to stay grounded in that infinite nature that we want to express in our finite nature. It helps us to create new patterns of thinking and feeling and being that, truly do, to use this metaphor we're using, to gestate the good within us so that we can give birth, as Mary did, to the magnificence of the divine in our daily lives. So I ran across this question and I think it was Tara Brock. She was giving a talk and she said, answer this without even thinking. Just note your first response. Do you think life has treated you well? What's your first response? And I think our first response kind of reveals what we have come to believe about the nature of life. What is the habit of our thinking? And where we put our attention, whether it's on the good of life or the fear of life, full disclosure, my first response was kind of somewhere in the middle. So clearly I still have some work to do. But for most of our lives, we've kind of lived under the illusion that life happens to us, that we're a product of life, a product of, all the stuff, the coincidences, the circumstances, the events that just kind of seem to plop into our lives. And then we do our best to kind of manage them. But the truth is, nothing could be further from the truth. Here's the thing. Life doesn't happen to us. Life happens through us. Life doesn't happen to us. Life happens through us. We're empowered to transform our thinking and our feeling and our lives. We live in a universe of infinite love and of law. Of law. It's not as sexy as love, but it's true and it's empowering. And the good news for us is that whatever our current habit of thinking and feeling and being is, we're empowered to change it. And that's the power of spiritual practice. That's the power of our meditation, our affirmative prayer, our gratitude, our forgiveness. Like I played the song earlier. And all the spiritual practices that we do every day, they change the pattern of our thinking and feeling and being, and they align us with the divine nature that's already within us. And the more we stand in the infinite nature, the more we experience it in our finite world, in the world of form. The more we practice the truth of our infinite nature, it seeps into our subjective mind until we naturally focus on the opportunities and the good rather than what we don't want, or get caught up in the drama of the life. And then what happens is that our attention just kind of naturally falls on what's good around us. I noticed that this week when I was looking for, how people were acting as the shamish, how are they being generous in the world? And then pretty soon it plays in our head, just like an old song. We don't even have to think about it. So, just like the Joseph and Mary journey, our experience of life will give us some uncomfortable moments. I just can't get that image of her riding on the donkey out of my head. But when we live connected to the infinite and not to the finite, it's really possible to live in a sense of contentment and joy, even when everything doesn't look exactly like we want it to look. And Los Posados can be an example for us, that even when there's no room at the inn, when we practice a state of consciousness that knows who we are, that knows that there is a universal love that holds us and a universal law that serves us, then we can live in that state of trust and faith and flow. We can actually experience that joy, the presence of the divine in our life, even when everything doesn't look exactly like we want it to look all the time. So yeah, the celebration of Las Posadas can be a reminder to us that the end of the journey is always secure, that there's always room at the end, and that we can celebrate the uncertainty of the journey we can celebrate the end of the journey, even in the uncertainty of the journey. I hope that makes sense. We can live in the expectancy and just celebrate everything, the challenges, the joys, the whole thing, and stand in that continuous flow. So let's take a moment, take a breath, and just move into that space of knowing that all is well. We are the infinite nature of life, of God, of spirit. We always have been, we always will be. It is our birthright, our inheritance, our nature, as it is God's. So I just know for each and every one of us that we express that nature and we allow it to flow in and through us. Life happens through us. And we just celebrate that. We celebrate that right here, right now. That the nature of life is joy, it's beauty, it's wonder, it's awe, it's pleasant. And so I just know that all is well here. I just know that that sense of gratitude for all that is opens us up even wider to the experience of this flow. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I release this prayer knowing all is well. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is. So I learned a lot about this holiday and I thought it was kind of fun. So I'm glad I was able to share it with you. I'm not really sure who's doing, it might be Relaine. Relaine, are you doing the?
I can be. I'm more than happy to.
Why don't you? We'll go with it. I'll put up the little, there we are.
Well, this is such a wonderful time to give to One Heart, One Mind when we feel so, filled up with spiritual wisdoms and connection with each and every one of us together here this morning. And so you can Venmo at One Heart, One Mind Center. And when you put in Venmo at One Heart, One Mind Center, Reverend Michelle's name is there, right? Michelle Ingalls. So to make sure that you've got the right One Heart, One Mind. And then you can also give to the address, which is on the screen, and Michelle is so gracious to go to collect the mail, and we'll pick up your check. And so here is our lovely prayer, sacred giving. I really enjoy saying this, and we can all say it together. Everything flows from the nature of God's good. We receive from this flow. We give from this flow. We give in gratitude and love. We have faith in the infinite giving nature of spirit. And so it is.
So it is.
And so it is. Thanks, Relaine. Yvonne is off having fun somewhere playing, so I'm just going to kind of briefly go over the announcements. We always have our Monday evening prayer group at 6 o'clock. It's short and sweet, and it's a lovely connection. On Tuesday, we are beginning that new book. I didn't bring my copy in here with me, 5 Steps to Freedom by John Waterhouse. And I have sent out, and if you didn't get it, just pop me an email. I have sent out the preface and the first chapter, because some people haven't received their book yet. And you know, we're gonna have our first class. Relaine and I are gonna present it together, and we're gonna do our first class on Tuesday the 12th, which is this Tuesday, and then we're gonna take a little break because we have the holidays, and then it's really just a journey through affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, which, you know, because most of us are so familiar, we have the opportunity to dig a little deeper, which will be really a lot of fun, and to pray for each other and to pray for everything, the world. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. What else? Honestly, there's not a whole lot else to announce right now. We're coming up on the holidays. I thought I might do something kind of special because the Sunday before Christmas is Christmas Eve. And so we might do some kind of, I don't know, something just kind of special, maybe a candle lighting or something. So I think that's about it. And I wanted to mention unexpected income because I have to do my due diligence for Yvonne. I don't want to get in trouble. And so, you know, the more you give, the more you get. It just keeps that whole spiral going. So I encourage everybody to do that.
I
And-
just wanted to say one thing too, if that's okay, Michelle.
Yeah, of course.
Interrupt you. But this upcoming Tuesday prayer study, I would ask everyone to invite a friend. The book is written for people who don't have science of mind background, don't have experience with spiritual mind treatment. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to invite a friend that you might think might enjoy learning. And it's an easy way. He writes in such a comfortable manner. It doesn't put any pressure on anyone to have to learn to do this correctly. And so I would encourage you. I invited a friend and she said yes. So it is kind of wonderful when someone, you know, says, wow, that sounds really good. So I encourage everybody to do that.
Wow, thank you, Elaine. That's a really good idea. Appreciate
And
that.
it's also good for people for all of us who have experience with prayer, because it helps us to deepen in ways that I think could be really exciting and wonderful as well.
Yeah, and while you're unmuted, maybe you could just do the benediction, and then I have a little closing number for us.
Okay. Sounds perfect. So let's just close our eyes and feel the gratitude. There's so much to be grateful for. It really is very exciting and wonderful to be in the presence of each and every one of you discussing spiritual wisdoms and Ernest Holmes and all the things that Michelle and Rob shared today. It's really exciting and wonderful to learn and grow and to be more of who we all are individually and together. And I really am so grateful for the One Heart, One Mind community. It really is quite unique and special. I'm so happy that I was led here, and so is Jim. And so I'm so grateful for God and life and love and just everything. It's pretty wonderful. And so I release this prayer with such a shift in consciousness occurring within each and every one of us to really live and know and be our truth. And so it is.
So it is.
So it is.
And
Okay.
my cat meowed at that time, so I
Yeah.
imagine he's
He was just saying, and so it is.
yeah, and so it
So I thought this would be an appropriate song for talking about In the Flow. This is Daniel Nahmod.
I've seen my share of struggle when I thought that I knew best, when I've sailed through a storm instead of stopping to rest. And it always seems the hardest when I've made up my stubborn mind. Well, I'm changing my ways this time. Wanna be like water coming down a mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. Have you ever seen an eagle head straight into the wind? He doesn't pick a fight, he spreads his wings and just gives in. And in the end he always makes it home just fine. I guess he knows that every storm subsides. Wanna be like water coming down a mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. I'll let nature take its course. No more thinking that I know where this river's meant to go. I have railed against the stars for the cards that I've been dealt, for the lottery I've never won, for the heartache that I've felt. But it always seems when I let go of expectation and regret, life has plenty of surprises for me yet. I wanna be like water coming down a mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. Wanna be like water coming down a mountain into shadowy canyons, flowing from pool to stream. Wanna be like water, head uphill no more. I am bound for the sea.
Want to be like water, head uphill no more. All right, I'm gonna turn off our live stream.